Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Whoa. I have to get that thingy off my face. So I was trying some new production stuff here and I forgot to push a button. And then that ends up right smack dab over my head. I'm back though, and welcome to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family. We have, a few different kinds of things to share with you this evening. Of course, we're going to touch on today's top news stories. Canada designating the IRGC out of Iran as a terrorist group. I don't know. Is that genuine, or is that Trudeau just trying to score political points? Vandals, spray paint, StoneHenge. What the heck is that about? Putin. First it's North Korea, now he's off to Vietnam. And while all these people are traveling around, the White House has canceled a trip to Israel because of a video that Benjamin Netanyahu released. Plus, there's this weird monolith thing that has popped up in the middle of the desert out in Nevada. We'll show that to you. Plus, we have a double feature tonight of the Maverick Knights. This one's titled Traitors and Traitors Part 2 in honor of those members of Parliament who are as yet unnamed, who are either wittingly or unwittingly cooperating with foreign governments to undermine our democracy. So we have that for you. Plus, John, you know our Johnny, he's on vacay. He's up in the nation's capital. And he sent some vacay pics, and I'm going to share them with you tonight. We have a special presentation all lined up. He paid Justin Trudeau a personal visit. In addition to that, I have a tribute to Paul Harvey, the legendary radio broadcaster who, back in the 1960s, brought us that famous monologue titled, "If I Were the Devil." Stay with me. We have all that and a little bit more coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Where shall we begin this evening? How about with Vladimir Putin visiting North Korea? How about that? Let's begin there. So, of course, he arrived there yesterday. Big time difference for us here, right? And we showed you yesterday him getting off the plane, shaking hands with Kim Jong-un, and then getting into that limousine. And here they are. Putin is the toast of the town. And these two are getting along famously. Let's take a look at this. It looks like when Putin visits North Korea.
В завершение разрешите предложить тост за крепкое здоровье и уважаемого президента товарища Владимира Владимировича Путина, за вечное процветание сильной России, нашего дружеского соседа, за бессмертие нерушимых дружественных отношений между Корейской Народно-Демократической Республикой и Российской Федерацией, которым будет заведовать мир, за здоровье всех присутствующих на этом месте товарищей.
So they have signed a mutual defense agreement. So this is a pledge to defend each other if either one is attacked. And it was sealed at this summit in Pyongyang. Pretty rare visit by Putin to North Korea. But of course, they've become much closer, especially during the conflict with Ukraine, because North Korea talking to Russia about support with munitions, military support in that way. So absolutely cozying up to each other. This is the first visit to North Korea for Putin in 24 years. Don't have all the details, not all of them yet on this this deal, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So this is what it looked like when they were riding in the limo. Yeah, he got the red carpet treatment, a parade, and man, it was a big deal. So they really put on a show for Vladimir Putin. I remember when Trump went to visit Kim Jong-un, it was like totally different scene. Stepped over the line, walked up, they shook hands, they walked around a bit, but not like this. This is a display of friendship and alliance. Here's, now it was a year ago Putin gave this limousine to Kim Jong-un, and then they picked him up at the airport in this thing. I think this is the vehicle. And here they are riding like, I don't know, riding with it standing up in the sunroof. lot of pomp and circumstance. Man, I haven't seen anything like that in quite a while over here. So now from there, Putin goes off to Vietnam. And again, you know, kind of an unusual, rare trip. Here he is. He's expected to sign several strategic agreements in Vietnam. This is a significant trip because he's shoring up support, building alliances with other nations in the face of opposition from the West, NATO. Here he is getting off the plane in Vietnam. So this is solidifying relationships, really in stark contrast to what's going on domestically and internationally for the United States and the Biden administration. Again, red carpet treatment. So that's all happening in real time right now. Meanwhile, back in Washington, a trip to Israel has been canceled. Why? Well, it's all about a video that has been released by Benjamin Netanyahu, and the White House is furious over it, and it's because Netanyahu has publicly come out and accused the Biden administration of holding back, withholding arms from Israel during this ongoing conflict in Gaza. So the White House has canceled this high-level meeting with Israel. It was scheduled for tomorrow. The advisors to President Biden were shocked and apparently outraged that Netanyahu came out with this video, and this is the White House response to it. And the White House is saying that the accusations from Netanyahu are incorrect. Let's bring the video up here. I'll show you exactly what it is that the Biden administration is upset about. It really amounts to this about 47-second clip of Netanyahu. Hang on, I'm on the wrong tab, but I'll get it up here for you. Yeah, 47 seconds long. That's all the time it took for Benjamin Netanyahu to blow up the relationship between him and Washington. Although I'll tell you, I think honestly, this is just the public display. This relationship has been on the rocks for quite a while. Biden playing both sides off against each other. In reality, I don't think he's behind what Israel is doing. Not really. Oh, they're sending some weapons over there, some arms, of course, and there's money to be made there, but in reality, they have his one arm tied behind Israel's back. People are thinking that it's Israel, the tail wagging the Washington dog. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Biden, I think, is paying lip service to Israel, happy to help the military-industrial complex kind of line their pockets with arms sales all around. But at the end of the day, no, they're not on his. I don't think he's really that supportive of what Netanyahu is doing at all. He's not on side. Here's Netanyahu's video.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, "Give us the tools, we'll do the job." And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
I have been monitoring some live streamers, podcasters on the Israeli side, and I'll tell you, there's an extreme gap in diplomacy and PR right now between Israel and the Biden administration. And in fact, it seems almost like, from what I'm monitoring, what I've been seeing, hearing, that the White House is meddling somehow, or the United States in some way is meddling in what Israel is doing in Gaza. Because there are even orders that are being given to some of the troops in Gaza that at the end of the day are delaying some of the operations in there. And then questions are being asked, and it seems like nobody even knows where some of these orders came from, because they didn't come from some of the top military officials from the Israeli side. There's weird stuff happening over there. I can't sit here and say that I have the inside scoop. I don't. This is just what I've been picking up in the cross channels, in all of the streams that are out there on social media, if open source information, if you will, or intelligence, sort of intelligence, but this coming from credible sources who are publicly making these statements online. And it's very odd. But when you look at the politics surrounding it, it sort of makes some sense. And this goes back to the Obama administration too, and the plane loads of money that went to Iran, and there's weird stuff happening. Now, all that being said, on the Canadian side today, a couple of major developments. Canada is going to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a branch of the Iranian Armed Forces, as a terrorist group. So this coming from Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc. He made this announcement today. And he says that Canada will use all of the tools at its disposal to combat the IRGC's activity in Canada. Now, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, has been calling on the government to do exactly this for as long as he's been the leader. And I think even before. But LeBlanc says that the IRGC has demonstrated, in his words, disregard for human rights both inside and outside of Iran. Now, back in January, the Prime Minister, Trudeau, said publicly that he was open to this move as long as it was done, in his words, responsibly. And he made those remarks during a vigil for victims of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. It was shot down on January 8th of 2020 over Tehran, apparently by the IRGC, at least that's the allegation. Of the 176 people who were killed on that flight, 55 of them were Canadian citizens, and 30 were permanent residents. So that plane, according to the IRGC, was mistaken for a hostile target. That is what they stated at the time. And back at that time, international tensions were, at a high point after the United States had carried out a drone strike against that Iranian military officer, Qasem Soleimani. Remember? And then the media freaked out. The Democrats freaked out. They said that Trump was going to start a whole new war because of that. In the end, they ended up kind of backing off. If you look at the history of the PR and what happened in the media after that, they were trying to make a big deal out of it. But then in the end, the public really didn't criticize Trump in the, overall in the end. The media campaign against Trump at the time really just didn't gain traction, and he came out on top with the MAGA base especially, and ultimately cheering for what Trump had done. So back in May last month, members of Parliament did vote unanimously in favor of a non-binding motion which called on the Canadian government to list the IRGC as a terrorist entity. And the family members of all those people who died on that flight have been demanding that the government do that for a long time, ever since the plane was shot down. It comes into the news cycle from time to time, keeps bubbling to the surface. So that's what's going on in Canada with regard to all of that. And that's a major development. Keep your eyes on that. Almost had to happen, though, especially with this election coming up and the tensions around the world running where they're at. And while that happens, who's in Ottawa today? But the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg. So the NATO chief is there. He was there for celebrations of NATO's 75th anniversary. He won't be the head of NATO too much longer. Apparently, he's supposed to step down this October. But right now, he's still the voice of NATO. And here's what he had to say when meeting with reporters in Canada's capital. And here we go.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's great to be back in Canada. It's great to be here, not least because Canada is such a highly valued NATO ally, which contributes in so many different ways to our collective defense, to our shared security, and especially now when we are preparing for the upcoming NATO summit in Washington next month. It's important to consult and to travel around and meet the leaders who are going to be at the summit, and therefore look forward also to have a dinner with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau later on today to also discuss different issues that will be important at the NATO summit, and that is deterrence and defense, Ukraine, and also our Asia-Pacific partners. I think you heard the speech. I think the best thing now is for me to be available to answer some questions.
Secretary General, welcome back to Canada. Murray Brewster with CBC News. Canadian officials have been saying that they've been assuring you and pretty much anyone else who listened at NATO that they're working on a plan for 2%. Have you seen a plan?
That's military
and are you
spending.
satisfied with the explanations that you've been given?
What I've seen is that Canada has increased defense spending and that Canada is investing in new important capabilities for NATO, not least the F-35s, the fifth generation fighter aircraft, but also modernizing NORAD, which is important not only for Canada and the United States, but the whole of NATO. Then I expect that all allies will reach 2%. We have agreed 2% of GDP for defense. And I expect those allies who are not able to reach it by this year, by 2024, that they will put forward a plan for when they will be there. And I'm looking forward to have a plan from Canada.
One follow-up. President Putin met today in the North Korean capital. It looks like there is going to be increased defense cooperation. What should the alliance make of that, and what can the alliance potentially do?
When authoritarian powers like Russia, North Korea, Iran, China are aligning more and more, then it's even more important that countries like NATO allies stand together and protect the freedom and democracy. So the most important answer is to strengthen NATO, is to strengthen the alliance between democratic free nations. Also actually to work with those countries who are not NATO allies, but which share our values and our close partners. And NATO will remain an alliance of North America and Europe, but it's extremely important that we, in light of the alignment between Russia, China, North Korea, are also working more closely with our close partners in the Asia-Pacific, Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, Australia, and they will be present at the summit. I think the visit of President Putin to Pyongyang, to North Korea, just demonstrates how dependent Russia now is on their other authoritarian friends, China, Iran, North Korea. And North Korea has supplied Russia with enormous amounts of ammunition and military support to the war of aggression against Ukraine.
Alex Valangal with the Toronto Star. Just picking up on that, you talked about this increasing alignment of authoritarian regimes and the need to impose costs on China. Can you expand on that a bit and maybe articulate what kind of cost you'd like to see a country like Canada impose?
Well, it's too early for me to say exactly what kind of costs, but my message is that we need to start to assess that option. We need to start to consult on potential costs because it's not sustainable and viable that China continues to fuel the biggest security threat challenge for NATO allies, especially in Europe, by propping up the Russian war economy, by supplying the advanced technologies they are using to produce the weapons they use in the war against Ukraine, without to see that going on without having any consequences for China. I'm not able to tell you now exactly what those consequences will be, but I'm confident that if this behavior of China continues, there will and must be some consequences.
Just following up on Murray's question about the 2% plans that you'd like to see, that you expect to see. Do you expect to see that from Canada, a plan outlining how they'll get there before or by the Washington summit?
Well, I will sit down with the Prime Minister and also meet the Foreign Minister later today, and we will discuss many issues. I'm here in Canada now to discuss a wide range of issues. Also, all Canada's very important contributions to our collective defence, the Canadian-led battle group in Latvia, which we are now looking into how we can scale up. Canada's contributions to what we do in the High North, NORAD, maritime operations. So it's a wide agenda with many issues, but of course one of them is also defence spending, and then we also I also expect that we will address when and how Canada can present a plan for when to be at 2%.
Hi, Kyle Duggan from Politico. The defense minister has talked about the 2% target and how it's difficult to explain to people what it means. It's kind of an imperceptible spreadsheet target. So how would you explain to Canadians what the risk is of not meeting the target? We're projected to not meet it throughout the rest of the decade.
The best way to preserve peace is to have a strong defense force, is to have defense which is credible, meaning that there is no risk for misunderstanding, miscalculation in Moscow or in any other capital of a potential adversary, that NATO is not ready able to defend all NATO allies. Because as long as we have credible deterrence, as long as we have strong defense, we will succeed in the next 75 years with what we have been able to achieve over the past 75 years, and that to prevent any military attack against any NATO allied country. And of course, when we see China, Russia investing heavily in new military capabilities, including long-range weapons, advanced missile systems, then, and we also see that, that Russia in particular are willing to use military force against neighbors, not only Ukraine, but Georgia and elsewhere, then, and also we see China behaving more and more also aggressively against neighbors and threatening neighbors, then it is important that we invest in our defense, not to fight the war, but to prevent the war. And of course, I understand that in Canada, you are in a position where you have the Atlantic Ocean, the Arctic in the north, and then the Pacific Ocean, then a good friend and ally, United States in the south. But no nation is protected against threats in an age of global great power rivalry, in an age of ballistic missiles, strategic submarines, weaponization of the space, of cyber threats, of terrorist threats. So this is also an issue for a challenge for Canada, and the best way to ensure that we preserve peace is to stand together in NATO and invest as we have agreed, and we have agreed in NATO to invest at least 2%.
And are you going to raise this issue with the Prime Minister tonight, the 2% target?
I will discuss a wide range of issues during my meetings and my visit here to Canada. And I will also praise Canada for everything Canada does, because Canada really contribute to NATO in many, many different ways. But of course, one of the many issues we will address is the issue of spending and NATO allies reduced defense spending after the Cold War, and NATO allies have now started to increase defense spending after when you see tensions have gone up over the last years. And also Canada has increased defense spending significantly. I think the challenge was that back in 2014, when we made the pledge, Canada was at a very low level. So compared to some other allies, you have a longer way to go. But also Canada has now moved in the right direction and added significantly to the Canadian defense budget.
Hi, Andréane Apablaza, Radio-Canada. About the 2%, can Canada stay part of NATO if it fails to provide a clear plan to reach the target?
Canada will stay as a NATO ally. Canada will be a staunch and highly valued NATO ally. And then, of course, I will work to ensure that all allies meet the 2% guideline. And I'm confident that Canada will do that.
Does it risk diplomatic isolation by not providing a clear plan?
That's not the way NATO works. We work together, we address common challenges together, and I'm confident that we'll find a way forward also on this issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Secretary.
Okay, and that is Jens Stoltenberg in Ottawa. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll share part 1 of the Maverick Nights episode, double feature, Traitors. Stay with me. More ahead.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I was just looking at what's going on over on YouTube, on our main channel over there, and we only have 40 thumbs up. Now, Brendan keeps telling me I have to promote the channel by encouraging people, asking people, begging people to give us a thumbs up on YouTube and over on Rumble as well. It really does help because it forces YouTube, even though they don't want to do it, to boost the channel in the algorithm. Now, we got hit with another ban on 2 of our YouTube channels just this past week. We're still banned over there for a few more days. It's just a short-term temporary ban, but they gave us a spanking for something we didn't even do. They said we were spreading vaccine misinformation, and the video didn't have anything to do with that at all. We didn't even talk about it. So we got nailed with that. Anyway, nothing I can do except you can help us help the channel by just hitting the thumbs up. I asked the other night, and you guys more than delivered. The goal is again to hit 100 thumbs up by the end of the broadcast. And by the time we were done, we hit like 147 or something like that the other night. So thank you to Brendan for encouraging me to ask you to help us so we can then help you by bringing you the information that you deserve here each and every night as our quest for truth continues. Now, what did we see here in Ottawa? Jens Stoltenberg. We saw the government going after the IRGC, declaring them as a terrorist group. All this happening today against this backdrop of foreign interference and this inquiry into foreign interference, allegations from New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh that there are traitors within the government, members of parliament who have acted in a traitorous way by either wittingly or unwittingly, according to intelligence reports, cooperating with foreign governments in some way to help to undermine the democracy of Canada. All that being said, some of the other politicians, including the Prime Minister and the leader of the Green Party, coming out and saying they don't think it rises to that level. Now, that being said, it inspired me to produce this special double feature tonight of Maverick Nights. This one's titled Traitors. Here's part 1.
As the investigation into the national traitors intensifies, the Maverick Knights, a group dedicated to preserving freedom, becomes increasingly determined to expose and thwart the silent coup that threatens Western democracies. Led by Sir Brendan, a skilled cyber expert, the team embarks on a high-stakes quest to gather concrete evidence of corruption and foreign influence at the highest levels of government. Their investigation leads them to a hidden lair, operated by the notorious supervillain known as Red Rattler. With their cyber skills and tactical expertise, the Maverick Knights breach the secret lair's defenses, engaging in a fierce battle against Red Rattler and his henchmen. The clash between good and evil ensues, with each side employing their unique abilities and strategies. However, despite their valiant efforts, Red Rattler manages to escape, leaving the Maverick Knights determined to continue their pursuit. They realize that the saga is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher. With the fate of Western democracies hanging in the balance, Sir Brendan and his team vow to uncover the truth, expose the traitors, and ensure that freedom prevails. The saga continues as the Maverick Knights delve deeper into the web of corruption, unmasking more conspirators and uncovering sinister plots. With each revelation, the battle intensifies, and the team must constantly adapt and strategize to stay one step ahead of their adversaries. As they confront powerful enemies and face unexpected challenges, the Maverick Knights remain resolute in their mission to safeguard the principles of democracy and protect the freedom of their nations. With their unwavering determination and unwavering commitment to justice, the Maverick Knights are prepared to go to any lengths necessary to save Western democracies from the clutches of tyranny. As the saga unfolds, the true extent of the conspiracy comes to light, and the battle for freedom reaches its climax. Will the Maverick Knights succeed in their mission, or will the forces of corruption and oppression prevail? Only time will tell as the epic tale of the Maverick Knights and their fight against the silent coup continues to unfold. As an AI language model, I cannot predict the outcome of fictional stories or events that have not yet been.
Is a mistake, that one there. I'm sorry about that. Nevertheless, it gives you the gist of what this... It's the bulk of what... Section 1 is about, part 1. We're going to come back to part 2, which is clean, without the AI voice. So we'll pick that up later on in the broadcast. Sorry, that is obviously computer-generated voice. So we're going to come back. What else do we have here for you tonight? We have vandals vandalizing StoneHenge. Did you guys see this thing? This, I tell you, the more I see this, maybe it's because I'm getting old, but the more I see this kind of stuff, the more it infuriates me. I don't get it. I see nothing positive about this, nothing constructive whatsoever. Let's take a look at this, okay? These are anti-oil activists. Makes no sense. Look at what they do. So these are fire extinguishers, and inside they have orange paint. One guy's in his 20s. The other guy, there's two guys in there, is in his 70s. I don't get it. What is the point? Can somebody please explain that to me? Like, honestly, what is the point? So the younger of the two protesters is some guy named Nyama Lynch. He was educated, I think, at Oxford University. It's actually it's a woman. Is it a male or female? I think it's a female. I thought it was a guy, but I guess it's a girl. Nyama Lynch. I can't pronounce the name properly, I guess. But these are stones. They've been around for 5,000 years. What does spraying? I don't know. Let's listen to what this person has to say about it. I'm just perplexed. I honestly just, I don't get it. Bring this back up. Here we go. Neve. Neve is how it's pronounced. Let me get this up on the screen. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting it up on the screen. Here we go.
UK government commits to support.
Here we go.
My name's Neve. I'm 21 and I'm a student at the University of Oxford. Today, I'm taking action with Just a World to demand that the UK government commits to signing the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty and promises to stop burning fossil fuels by 2030. To refuse to do so is to warrant death, destruction and suffering on an absolutely immense and immeasurable scale. Today, we'll be taking action at StoneHenge the day before the solstice. For thousands of years, people have come to StoneHenge on the solstice to celebrate our natural world, to celebrate the beauty of our natural world. But I can't help thinking, what does it look like today and what the heck have we done to it? These stones have stood here for 5,000 years. What will the world look like in 5,000 years' time? What will our legacy be? It's becoming ever more clear that we end the fossil fuel era or the fossil fuel era ends us.
Okay, I guess it worked because here I am talking about it. And I just put this person on this program, let them share their message. I think this person is wacko. Oh, there's that word, wacko, just kind of came out. I think this is absolutely nuts. Counterproductive, doesn't serve the world in a positive way. You've damaged a treasure to the world, a mystery that remains unsolved. What are these stones even doing there? 5,000 years at least they've been there, and they spray paint them? I guess the paint will eventually wear off, or they'll have to figure out how to get this off these stones in a way that doesn't damage them. They're assessing the damage, the officials who curate this place, who take care of it. This is I mean, if they're not doing this, they're vandalizing artwork, which again just defies logic to me. What does any of this have to do with the oil industry? Nothing. It's just causing trouble to get attention focused on yourself and then spread this I'm editorializing here, but it's just spoiled rotten little brat. Sorry, that's what that is. A spoiled rotten little brat and a spoiled rotten old brat. The young guy and the old guy. Well, the young girl and the old guy. Man, here's another angle on it. I'm sorry, these people are idiots. I mean, certifiable idiots. What do they think gives them the right to do this? They don't have a right to do this. These stones belong to the world, not to them. How dare they? There's something wrong with these people. There is something wrong in their heads. Something wrong. They've been subjected to some kind of information warfare, I think, some sort of a psyop, some brainwashing, they've just been driven nuts. I swear to God, people they've just lost their minds. From people out in Calgary snitching on each other because of, you're not using water you're not supposed to be using because we've got a water emergency, to the way people were treated during the pandemic, to people hating their own society, their own history, tearing down statues. It's just absolutely wacko. The whole world has been turned upside down. A lot of it is because of what's going on social media. I am telling you, these people have been subjected to a bombardment of social media content, I'm sure, and also brainwashing, indoctrination, far left, woke, progressive politics in the education system, so that their heads are all just twisted around. Their minds are twisted. Going to talk about that a little bit later, more in detail tonight. Any given night, I sit here and I talk about the way people's minds have been affected by information warfare, psyops, social media. I swear to God, people have lost their minds. Things are not right. People are not right. I think it's a combination of drug use combined with propaganda videos, misinformation videos, weird videos, artificial intelligence, which I'm using there for a voice, right? Using AI to create that voice track. It's here, whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence. Have you seen what ChatGPT 4.0 can do? It's new. It's coming out. It's actually going to be free. I was watching a demo online. This is artificial intelligence, and there's more than one kind of this. ChatGPT 4.0 is, I think the most advanced, but there are other ones from other competitors. And I've seen two AIs having conversations back and forth with each other. It's kind of unnerving. It's a little bit scary. And ChatGPT 4.0 creates, it'll be like your personal companion, a friend, a digital friend that you can just have a conversation with, a companion, an assistant. And the responses are, it's almost human-like. There's something about it that still is a little bit sterile, artificial. You can pick it up, but no, it's pretty darn close. It's getting there, and this is just the beginning. Within a year, even, this technology is expanding, accelerating at an exponential rate. Even a year from now, this will become so refined, I bet you, that it will be very difficult to tell the difference between an AI voice and an interaction with an AI entity and a real human being. Imagine where we are going to be in 10 years. It's already replacing this new development, this new technology. It's already replacing outdated software, applications, jobs. We're losing jobs because of this. Inevitable. And I guess it will make us more productive. I'm not opposed to technological advancement. It's inevitable. It's going to come whether we like it or not. So we have to learn to cope with it. But very, very disruptive. You better prepare. You better get educated. You better do something to protect yourself, and protect yourself by preparing, educating yourself, positioning yourself, making sure that if your job is going to be affected, that you get yourself into a position where you're going to be able to do something else. This is a warning. Get ready. All that happened, and it's just so fast. And while that brings me back to this story too. Have you seen this strange monolith, kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey kind of a thing? This monolith that has popped up in the Nevada desert, just outside Las Vegas, someplace. I have a picture of it here. Bring it up. This is what it looks like. I guess someone must have put it there. Someone must have put that thing there. Unless it was aliens. I don't know. Pretty weird. Looks like it could have come from outer space. It looks like it came straight out of 2001, A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick's classic film. I'm saying classic film. That makes me old. I remember when that movie came out. So there it is, you know, sitting in among all the rocks out in this remote location in this mountain range near Las Vegas. Rectangular prism. Completely reflective. Nobody knows where it came from. It's a mystery. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says it's trying to solve the mystery. They weren't even aware of its existence until they saw it on a social media post. There it is earlier this week. It's just one of those weird things. Dun, 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 da-da, dun, 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 dun. Oh my. I gotta check something here. What was that guy's name? Dave. I think it was Dave. Dave. The computer talks to Dave in 2001, A Space Odyssey. The computer comes alive. It's so fitting, isn't it? Talking about AI. Like, how did that happen? How did that come full circle? Here we are in 2024, and these things are coming to fruition. I mean, it's actually happening. Monolith out in the desert. We've got actual artificial intelligence, AI companions. They're even artificial and AI created videos of like sexy models now, I guess. I just saw some, Brendan was telling me about it. I wasn't even aware that it had gone that far. I mean, I knew that you could create videos and stuff, but I wasn't aware that now there's like a whole industry. This is going to put, honestly, I'm telling you, it's going to put the adult film industry out of business. Because these AI generated videos, characters, I guess they look pretty close to human. Oh, I don't know, guys. I don't know if it'll, I don't know. Can't keep up. You can't keep up with it. It's happening so fast. So, okay, let's, I'll tell you what. Since the first part of the Maverick Nights episode kind of misfired there a little bit, let's just move on to the second one, shall we? This one, I think, is properly edited. So this is Maverick Nights, The Traitors, Part 2.
As the Maverick Knights don their sleek cyber armor, their mission to expose the treacherous politicians begins. Equipped with advanced cyber intelligence tools, the team delves into the dark corners of the digital world, unearthing evidence of the politicians' illicit activities. With each piece of data gathered, the Knights uncover a complex web of favors, bribes, and clandestine deals that threaten the very fabric of their nation. Determined to bring justice, the team follows the trail of betrayal to the desolate Arctic region. In this frozen landscape, the Knights discover a hidden underground bunker, remnants of a long-forgotten Cold War era. Inside, the traitorous politicians have sought refuge, believing their secrets to be safe from prying eyes. Little do they know, the Maverick Knights are closing in. A fierce battle ensues as the Knights confront the corrupt politicians and their hired mercenaries. The clashing of cyber-enhanced armor reverberates through the bunker's corridors, as the team fights to protect their country's interests. Using their cybernetic enhancements, the Knights outmaneuver their adversaries, relying on their superior strength and agility. The traitors, now cornered and desperate, resort to any means necessary to survive. Amidst the chaos, the Knights remain steadfast in their pursuit of justice. Their unwavering determination and unwavering loyalty to their nation fuel their every move. With precision and strategy, they dismantle the traitors' defenses, exposing their crimes to the world. As the battle reaches its climax, the Maverick Knights emerge victorious. The corrupt politicians are apprehended, their reign of betrayal brought to an end. The nation can finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that justice has been served. The Maverick Knights, having fulfilled their duty, return to their headquarters, their cyber armor bearing the marks of their hard-fought victory. They stand as a symbol of hope and resilience, ready to face any future threats that may arise. In the aftermath of this epic battle, the nation begins to heal. The exposure of the treacherous politicians serves as a wake-up call, igniting a movement towards transparency and accountability. The Maverick Knights have not only saved their country from corruption but have also sparked a revolution, forever changing the political landscape. And so, the Maverick Knights continue their tireless fight, defending their nation from all threats, both seen and unseen. Clad in their cyber armor, they stand as guardians of justice, ready to face any challenge that comes their way.
Thanks, Rose. Put me on a minute.
Hang on here, just a second. Okay. All right, guys. So that was Maverick Knights, part 2 of Traitors, and right now on the line, we're going to move on from that. I've got John Scotty Rimby live out in Alberta. I want to talk to you about the hockey game.
Yes, sir. Welcome aboard, Maverick News family worldwide. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers, we've been praying to the baby Jesus. What a comeback, guys. What a comeback. Last night's game was beyond incredible.
I'll tell you, John, I was laying there. I was exhausted after working all day and all night, as usual. So there I am. I'm laying in bed. I just dozed off, and the phone rings, and it's John. And I hadn't been watching the game. I did actually see the score a couple of times because John was keeping me up to date, but I had dozed off, and it's pandemonium where you were. John, give us the play-by-play. Walk us through what happened with that game last night. Just tell us what happened.
Well, I had the fortunate, friends at On the Rocks is an incredible sports bar, Jasper Avenue on 119th Street. It was taco night last night. Just incredible from beginning. Everybody's counted the Oilers out, and they've made such an incredible comeback. And the fan base, I sent you a bunch of the pictures.
Yeah.
The fan base in Edmonton is just, it's beyond electrifying. And Oiler fans are lifelongers, dedicated, but what an incredible comeback for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, the city is just electrified. Alberta's electrified. Canada's electrified. Like, it's just incredible.
So this is this is Canada versus the United States. This is Alberta versus Florida. This is Edmonton versus the Panthers, right? The Oilers versus the Panthers. Give us what happened during the game that made it so exciting. Give us like each goal. What was the final score? And then take us through what happened, goal by goal.
Well, the final score, I think it was 5-3. Edmonton came out kicking a lot of butt down in Florida with the Panthers, and we scored 1 goal right away, power play, goal number 2 right away, 2-0, and then 3. So we had 3 goals within about the first 35, 40 minutes of the game, and everybody was just wild, electrified in Edmonton. And then, of course, got to give it to the Florida Panthers. I mean, it's a new team, but it's an incredible team. You can't take anything away from the Panthers. But, the Oilers pulled it off, 5-3, win for the Oilers. And they're going to be 2 nights from now, they're going to be Friday night in Edmonton, home game, and it's going to be the Florida Panthers in Edmonton Friday night. So if you think she was a wild game last night, and what an incredible Stanley Cup series this has turned into. I mean, it's just been nail-biter excitement the whole way through the whole series, Rick.
It has captivated the entire country of Canada. I mean, hockey is one of Canada's 2 national sports, lacrosse being the other. But hey, man, it's hockey. And that is what Canada is really all about for so many people. But I'll tell you, there are a few factors in my view, and I haven't really been watching the games that closely. But I think, knowing what I know about hockey, this is what I think has turned the tide for Edmonton, if I may share.
Absolutely.
Okay, 1, they finally figured out what the strategy of, or the plays that the Panthers are using. So they've been analyzing the Panthers, and they know what they're doing. So now they know how to counteract the Panther attack. Okay, now in addition to that, they've got the desire, the momentum behind them. They got that 8-1 win in the previous game, and that just gave them the forward momentum. So you combine that with their analysis and execution of counterattack on that Panther attack. Okay, so now they've got those 2 things down. Plus, they got Booby Girl. Okay, because Booby Girl flashed her boobies. It went viral. And that inspired the whole team. And now they're all rising to the occasion. And that's what's it's just turned the whole tide. Booby Girl, I'm telling you. She was on Barstool Sports.
It's amazing what a set of knockers will do for a hockey team, eh?
It's apparently, that's what, the Philadelphia Flyers, when I was a kid, they had Kate Smith, right? So they would have her sing the national anthem, and then they thought they couldn't lose. The Broad Street Bullies. But now the Oilers. Oh, and I think it was the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had pyramid power for a while. They used to put little pyramids under the bench, and they were like, the pyramid power was helping them. But now the Oilers have Booby Girl. So they're unstoppable at this point, I would say. They're still down 1 game, but they're on the way back. They've got the momentum. They understand the Panther strategy. They have the desire, the will. They're on a roll, and they got Booby Girl.
Well, Friday night, Canada in Edmonton, Alberta, Western Canada. Alberta, 3rd largest oil reserves in the world. It is going to be, the entire area is just beyond electrified.
It
with
is.
The excitement, the passion of what's coming Friday night, and everybody's got their fingers crossed. And this may be the big upset of the whole Stanley Cup, the way the Oilers have come back as the underdog.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a positive thing for the country because this is a huge thing for Alberta. But I'll tell you, I think the entire country of Canada is now united behind the Oilers. So this is a very good thing. Very few things these days can unite the country, but hockey can. And this is what we have going on right now.
Well, it doesn't get any more Canadian than hockey. It's like, go, Oilers, go. I shot you those pictures of my friend with the signage, and the fan base in Edmonton is just second to none in the hockey world.
Yeah.
They are just such an electrifying fan base, and loyal. And of course, Edmonton's part of the great province of Alberta. It doesn't get any sweeter than that, Rick.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, John. So when you called me last night, it sounded like you were all jacked up on cheap wings and beer.
cheap red wine, Rick, on house special. Yes.
So, I honestly, I could hardly understand what you were saying because it was so loud. The audio was all distorted. It was pandemonium there. And you were like, we won.
I know. I was so excited. I had to roll you out of bed. I had to share my excitement and news with you, Rick. Absolutely.
Well, I'm
Even
glad
though I got you out of bed. That was all good.
I'm so glad you did. It even though it woke me up, I was sitting there with a big smile on my face. So I appreciate you calling me last night and sharing the news. And thanks for coming on tonight too, sir.
Well, Rick, in this day and age of where the world is, we need some good old Canadian hockey and some good hockey from the United States of America. Yeah. And when they did the opening national anthem last night of O Canada, and then they did the U.S. Anthem, it brings tears to your eyes to be a person of Canada and North America, two of the greatest, most incredible free countries in the world. And we're so fortunate to have hockey night in Canada, the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well, Will, now you've inspired me to pay more attention now that the Oilers are on a comeback. So I'll be watching, and we'll be talking more about this. You're now our official Edmonton Oilers NHL Hockey Night in Canada Stanley Cup playoff correspondent.
Okay, well, I sent you some awesome pictures last night. Yeah. And you can put some of those up on the show later. But yeah, go Oilers, go. We're praying to the good Lord above and the baby Jesus. And what an incredible fan base the Oilers have in Edmonton and Alberta. I know all of Alberta, and Canada's behind the Edmonton Oilers. Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing, Rick. Hockey night in Canada, the Stanley Cup.
It is. Okay, I'll talk to you later, John. Thank you.
Cheers. God bless you guys.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye. There you go. That's news. That for sure is news. Even though it's sports, sometimes sports becomes news. And that was big news last night. Boy, John was like beyond excited. Pretty big deal. Okay, let's take a little break. Going to come back. Got a couple of other things, good things to share with you tonight. Our other John, Johnny, he went on a little vacay, and we're going to share that with you. Plus, I have this tribute to Paul Harvey to share with you tonight as well. And I think it really is going to resonate with you, so don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so what shall we go to next? Do you want the Paul Harvey tribute, or do you guys want me to share Johnny's Ottawa vacation and his visit to Trudeau? Can save one of these things for the last on the broadcast. I'm going to let you guys decide. What do you want? What do you want? Do you even know who I'm talking about? Paul Harvey? The guy who brought us If I Were the Devil? Do you remember that old radio monologue? Many of you probably don't. Okay, we're only at 80 thumbs up so far. So please, if you're over on YouTube, and if you're on Rumble too, thumbs up, hit the thumbs up. We want to try to get to 100 again tonight. It really helps us in the algorithm, and that's the goal. Also, if you are in a position, we really need your help. I can tell you that it has been a pretty lean month here, and the bills are due. So if you are in a position to support the channel, if you like what we do, you can support us by donating at maverickdonations.com or freedomreporters.com. At maverickdonations.com, it takes you to the Give, Send, Go, which is super friendly people over there. Again, I can't say enough nice things about them. They're an amazing operation. And freedomreporters.com, that's PayPal. That's where most people go if they are going to support the program. And I have one of these shirts on tonight, too. The long sleeve embroidered shirts with the Maverick News logo on it. See? And if you donate $60 or more, I will send you one of these embroidered shirts. Just let me know what size you need. They come in any color you want as long as it's black. And I will also send you a bonus 1/64th scale Hot Wheels die-cast collectible Batmobile. Who doesn't want a Batmobile? So there's all that going on. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, and give us the thumbs up. It will help us a lot. YouTube, honestly, they are suppressing our main channel. The other ones seem to be growing, but the main channel, they're suppressing it. And I think they're even, for some reason, some way, they are actually trimming off subscribers. It's not like people are leaving. I think YouTube is actually going in and taking them away from us because they're leaving in giant blocks at times. It's a very odd thing. The numbers don't add up. And I think they're actually lying about the actual statistics on the channel, because I'm seeing too them playing games with, I can see the total number of viewers each night that are actually watching, and then it doesn't add up when I look at the numbers that we get in the analytics later. It's weird. Anyway, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Let's get to 100. We're almost there. Keep on going. Really appreciate the support. Okay, so what are we doing here? Are we doing Paul Harvey, or are we doing the other thing? Commentary, Paul Harvey, says Sandy. And let's go in over here. And I don't know, I don't know if anybody's telling me what they want to see. You want to? You know, at only 33 on Rumble, and we have a lot of people kind of over there too, but multiple Rumble channels. Okay. All right, so I guess we're going to get the Paul Harvey thing. So, who was Paul Harvey? Do you remember Paul Harvey? Anybody? Paul Harvey, radio broadcaster. He began broadcasting from the ABC affiliate WENR after he moved to Chicago in June of 1944. And then he started doing this series on the radio called The Rest of the Story. I used to listen to him when I was a kid. This is in like the 1970s. They would broadcast his stuff. I remember my dad taking me in the car on it was like a regular thing. I don't remember what we were doing. Maybe he was taking me to guitar lessons when I was a kid. That must have been it. And then at times, on each Saturday when we were out, I would be left in the car sometimes for short periods as we were running errands. And I'd have the radio would be left on. And Paul Harvey would come on, and I would listen to Paul Harvey every weekend. And it was always The Rest of the Story. And I loved his series. It was just fantastic. And so Paul Harvey was very focused on national security, national pride, Americanism, Americana, I think, if you will. And he always had some, story that he would tell in a sort of a reverse order that would have some moral to it in the end. And he would talk often about things like lax security, especially around nuclear facilities. And he just talked about politics, but he did it in such a way that it taught us a lesson. And I miss Paul Harvey. He was a broadcasting legend. And the most famous thing that he ever did was this monologue called If I Were the Devil. And he would say things like, if I were the devil, I would gain control of the most powerful nation in the world. I would delude their minds into thinking that they had come from man's effort instead of God's blessings. He'd go on and say, I would promote an attitude of loving things and using people instead of the other way around. I would dupe entire states into relying on gambling for their state revenue. And when I went back and I was looking at what Paul Harvey had to say when he was with us. So virtually everything that he included in his If I Were the Devil monologue has come to pass. Warnings about drugs and sex and rewriting history. And here I am, night after night these days, talking about foreign interference, psyops, misinformation, propaganda, academia, our education system, turning the world, our country, our society upside down, inside out, making us think that everything is the opposite of what it is. We really are living in opposite world right now. Look at those people who spray painted StoneHenge. Do you think they love their country, love society? Do you think they have any pride in anything? They hate their country. They hate where they live. They hate their community. They're petrified. They're scared. They're fueled by fear. Their minds are twisted. They don't know what's right and wrong anymore, clearly. Because what they did was so wrong, it doesn't help anything. And they've done damage to something that is a treasure for all of humanity. A mystery. What they've done is something of a mystery, at least on the surface. But when you look deeper, you can see why. It's the erosion of our values. It's the new technology that is infecting people's minds, the way that it's infecting people's minds. We are all being subjected to massive amounts of propaganda from multiple sources. We're under attack. It's very clear. To me, it is. And I'm scared because I feel like we're losing everything. So I put together a new version, my own tribute to Paul Harvey. This is my version of If I Were the Devil. I pre-recorded and I share it with you here tonight. If I were the devil, I wouldn't rest until I had undermined the very foundation of this nation. I would start by sowing seeds of doubt about our greatest achievements. I'd whisper into the ears of the young and impressionable that the moon landings were nothing more than an elaborate hoax, a deceitful play put on to fool the masses. If I were the devil, I'd flood the streets with poison. I'd make drugs like fentanyl easy to get, and I'd make them cheap. I'd ensure that addiction ravages families and communities, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. If I were the devil, I'd turn schools into battlegrounds of moral confusion. I'd put drag queen story hours into classrooms, not as a celebration of diversity, but as a means to blur the lines of innocence and childhood. I'd make sure that sexual messages, drug use, and the glorification of thug life permeate popular music, turning it into anthems of self-destruction. If I were the devil, I'd divide people with tales of old hatreds. I'd stoke the fires of anti-Semitism and anti-Jew hatred, ensuring that these ancient prejudices never die, but instead find new life in the hearts of the misinformed and the discontented. If I were the devil, I'd sell the seductive lie of a socialist or communist utopia. I'd promise a world of free things, knowing full well that such promises lead only to massive inflation and economic collapse. I'd ensure that the disillusionment of these false promises erodes trust in all institutions. If I were the devil, I'd erase our culture and history. I'd tear down statues, rewrite historical narratives, and twist them to fit radical political agendas. I'd make sure that the past becomes a weapon, not a lesson. If I were the devil, I'd use propaganda and information warfare to confuse the public. I'd flood the media with lies and half-truths, making it impossible for people to discern fact from fiction. I'd harness the power of artificial intelligence to create deep fakes and spread disinformation, crafting lies so convincing that they would incite men to kill each other in wars that are nothing new, just old conflicts dressed in new disguises, repeating the same tragic cycles of violence and hatred. If I were the devil, I'd leave people so bewildered and lost that they wouldn't know what is real and what isn't. In this state of confusion, they'd lose faith in everything: their government, their neighbors, their own sense of right and wrong. They'd become paralyzed by doubt, easy prey for manipulation and control. And in this fog of uncertainty, I'd make them believe that their country isn't worth saving, that their values and traditions are relics of an oppressive past. I'd trick them into hating themselves, into thinking that they are the enemy, convincing them to tear down their own society. Through this act of national suicide, I'd achieve my ultimate goal: a nation so divided, so self-loathing, that it collapses from within. In short, if I were the devil, I'd keep on doing what I'm doing. But you, the people of this nation, have a choice. You can see through the deception, stand peacefully for what is right and good, and protect what you love. For the devil's greatest trick is making you believe you are powerless. Yet it is within your power to save your country, to cherish individual rights, your history, and to build a future that honors the truth and fosters a united effort to restore and protect our freedom.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
A huge thank you to CBC Brown 44 for the $10 Rumble Rant, which works like the Super Chats on YouTube, which we don't get because we're not monetized anymore on YouTube. We've been demonetized. So thank you so much for the support. Greatly appreciated. Now, federal members of Parliament in Canada, a lot of Canadian news tonight. MPs getting ready to take a 3-month extended vacation. Canadians, a lot of Canadians upset about that. They don't think that they deserve it. MPs, some of them defending the long summer vacay by saying that it's not really much of a vacation because they had caught up on constituency work and do a lot of community activities and engage in community events and meet with people and go politicking, I guess, over the summer. And I suppose in that way, it sort of is sort of like you're not really on a vacation when you're doing work back in your own riding. But at the same time, how much work are they really doing over this summer? Who wouldn't like to have a 3-month vacation and make the kind of coin that these politicians do? Well, our Johnny, he went on a vacation too. He went on a vacay to Ottawa and he paid Justin Trudeau, or tried to pay Justin Trudeau, a personal visit. Sent me a bunch of photos today, so I put it all together into a little montage, a pictorial tourist video of Ottawa of sorts. But this is the real Ottawa. This is what's really going on up there. And before we get into the video that I put together with his photos, I should say that the first thing that caught my attention was he was going to protest sites around Ottawa, which of course I think is just par for the course up there. A lot of protests. It's protest central in the nation's capital. But I noticed that they had this statue. I hope I can find it here. Yeah, the J.H. Tabaret statue at the University of Ottawa was vandalized. This happened last month. Red paint all thrown all over it. And there's also the word colonizer was marked in black on the bottom of the statue. John was there. He has a photo of that in the distance. You'll see it. I just wanted to make note of that because it ties right into what I just said in that tribute to Paul Harvey just a few moments ago about tearing down our statues, hating our society, hating our history. And I'm telling you that our history is being rewritten every day by academics at places just like the University of Ottawa, where I think, honestly, in my opinion, far too tolerant of these efforts to rewrite the past. You know, they say the victors of war get to write the history, but what happens when in the future or in the present, people take it upon themselves to rewrite the history, to rewrite it? Isn't that sort of a form of attack? Isn't that an assault on the past, maybe the present? Couldn't that be a form of warfare? I think it is. There's truth and there's truth, but is that to say that the history we were taught in the past was completely wrong? Some people would have us believe that. That's how they turn our society upside down. Well, that's pretty heavy talk, and I think it's time to lighten things up here a little bit. So I'm gonna run the video that I made with Johnny's photos. Pay particular attention to the very last slide, the very end of the video. Johnny sends a special message to the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, as he visits JT's office today. Here we go. Check it out. Here we are in Ottawa. And as you see, there are protests. There's a Palestinian encampment. Of course he went to see them. And they stole the Canadian Tire logo and put it on the Resistance tent. And there's the vandalized statue of J.H. Tabaret, an academic who is seen as one of the founders, the founder of the university. There's John with a totem pole. Shots of the little Gaza. Oh yes, there's some heritage. And not exactly the Bellagio, but the fountain nonetheless. Back to the encampment. And back to the totem pole. They'll spray paint that one too. There's the Prime Minister's office, and here's the message from John to JT. There you go. I think you get the message, right? Do I have to explain that one? No, I don't think so. It's self-explanatory. Everybody gets that universal symbol. JT is number one. Okay, John, thanks for sending that in. I wanted to talk to him on the phone, but he's visiting people up there, so we can't get him on the phone tonight. But that's okay. We'll talk to him another night, and maybe he'll send more pics, and the tour of Ottawa will continue. That being said, we're going to wrap up for tonight, and we will be back tomorrow night, same Maverick News channel, same Maverick News time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Love you guys. Catch you all tomorrow on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.